Hey there, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're diving into the book of 1 Peter. I'm going to walk you through what it says, who wrote it, why it was written, when and where, what was happening in the wider world, especially in Rome, when it was written, and what it means for us now. I'll keep the language simple, conversational, and totally relatable. So whether you're just starting out or you're part of Gen Z looking for real-life connection, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hi. I'm excited you're here. I want to invite you to lean in, relax, and imagine we're having a chat, maybe over coffee or iced matcha. We're about to explore one of the New Testament letters together. My hope is you'll finish feeling encouraged, understood, and ready to apply what you learn. We're looking at 1 Peter chapters 1 through 5. This letter begins, "To those who are living as exiles in Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia." Later on it says, "She who is in Babylon, elect together with you, greets you, and so does Mark my son." Traditionally, this letter is attributed to the Apostle Peter, the same Peter who walked with Jesus, who was outspoken, bold, and deeply human. Some scholars think it might have been written by someone close to Peter, maybe a scribe or companion, because the Greek is polished and formal. But the early church strongly believed Peter himself had a hand in it. Either way, it carries his voice, caring, grounded, and full of hope. The purpose of the letter was simple but powerful: to encourage believers scattered across the Roman provinces, people who were facing rejection, ridicule, or suffering for their faith. Peter wanted them to stand strong, live with hope, and remember that what they were going through had meaning. It wasn't just a random letter, it was a heartfelt message to people trying to live out their faith in a world that didn't understand them. Most scholars date it around AD 62 to 64, right before things got really rough under Emperor Nero. It was likely written from Rome, which Peter symbolically calls Babylon. That was a kind of code word early Christians used for Rome, a way of describing it as a place of exile and moral confusion. Actual Babylon was ancient history by then, but the nickname fit. So what was going on in Rome at that time? Picture this. Rome was massive, the center of the empire, filled with luxury, ambition, and tension. Around AD 64, a huge fire swept through the city, destroying large sections. Nero, the emperor, needed someone to blame, and many historians believe Christians were among those scapegoated. Christianity was still new and misunderstood. People saw it as odd, maybe even threatening. The idea of following one God, loving enemies, refusing to worship the emperor, that stood out in a culture built on power and status. Out in the provinces, in places like Galatia, Cappadocia, and Bithynia, life wasn't necessarily easier. Christians there weren't usually hunted down by the government, but they were definitely outsiders. They didn't join in idol feasts, didn't bow to Roman gods, didn't live for wealth or popularity. So they faced social rejection, kind of like being the only person in your group chat who doesn't follow the same trends or jokes. That's who Peter's writing to, the misunderstood, the overlooked, the faithful. Now let's talk about what this letter actually teaches. The first big idea is identity. Peter calls the believers chosen and exiles. That sounds strange, but it means this: you belong to God, but you're living in a world that doesn't fully match your values. You're a bit like a traveler or exchange student in a foreign country. You live there, you learn the culture, but your heart belongs somewhere else. Then there's hope. Peter says believers have a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. A living hope isn't a vague wish or good vibes. It's a hope that breathes, that keeps you going when life gets messy. Peter is saying, even when everything shakes, you're standing on something solid. Next comes action. If you belong to God and live in hope, it changes how you live. Peter talks about being holy, not in a rigid or judgmental way, but in a way that means different, authentic, real. Be honest, be kind, be gracious. In a world of shortcuts and cynicism, be genuine. Then Peter deals with suffering. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He says, don't be surprised when trials come. It's not a sign that God abandoned you. It's part of the refining process, like gold tested in fire. Suffering isn't good, but it can produce depth, empathy, and strength. He also talks about relationships between husbands and wives, workers and masters, leaders and communities. The theme that runs through all of it is humility and respect. In every setting, live with dignity, not arrogance. Lead by serving. Treat people like they matter. In the final chapter, Peter says, "Humble yourselves under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time." He tells them to be alert, to watch out for anything that could destroy their peace or unity. The vibe is almost like, keep your eyes open, stay grounded, don't get lost in the chaos. Now, let's bring this into our world. Imagine you're in college, surrounded by people chasing the next big thing. Grades, jobs, followers, attention. Everyone's hustling, competing, comparing. You might feel pressure to fit in, to talk and act like everyone else. That's how those early Christians felt. They lived in a culture where doing the right thing sometimes made them stand out, and not always in a good way. Think about social media. You scroll and see everyone's highlight reel, the trips, the outfits, the achievements. It's easy to feel like you don't belong if you don't match that energy. Peter would say, you already belong. You don't need to filter your worth. You were chosen before the likes, before the algorithms, before the noise. Or maybe you've moved to a new city, started a new job, and you feel like an outsider. You don't get the inside jokes, you don't feel settled, and you're just trying to figure out where you fit. That's what Peter meant by sojourners. You're living in a place that's not quite home yet, but home is coming. You're not lost, you're just on the way. If you've ever been teased, judged, or pushed aside for what you believe or value, Peter's message is for you. He's saying, hang in there. You're not the first to feel this way, and you won't be the last. Keep living with kindness and faithfulness. That's your quiet rebellion. And if you're in a position of influence, maybe you're leading a group, running a small business, mentoring others, Peter's reminder is to lead with humility, not with ego, but with empathy. In a world that loves titles and recognition, lead like a servant. That's strength that lasts. Now think about the issues our generation faces: mental health struggles, burnout, social injustice, climate anxiety. Peter's world had its own chaos, persecution, corruption, inequality. His message wasn't to ignore it or escape it, but to stay grounded in goodness. Live for good, he says. Show honor to everyone. When you act with integrity, you make the world a little more hopeful. And hope, real, living hope, is what this letter is all about. In a world where everything changes, trends, governments, even friendships, hope stays steady. It's like an anchor in deep water. You might drift a little, but it keeps you from being lost. So here's the encouragement. Wherever you are, whatever you're facing, you belong. You are chosen. Your story has meaning. The difficulties you're walking through aren't the end of the story. You're being shaped, strengthened, refined. And here's the challenge. What's one area of your life where you can live differently because of that truth? Maybe it's choosing authenticity when it's easier to pretend. Maybe it's showing kindness to someone who doesn't deserve it. Maybe it's standing up for what's right when silence feels safer. Think about your daily rhythm. If someone watched your week, not just your posts, but your quiet moments, would they see someone who lives with hope? Someone whose peace doesn't depend on everything going right? That's what Peter's talking about. Not perfection, not pretending, just steady, grounded faith. So this week, take one small step toward that. Text someone who's struggling, say thank you, take a break when you need one, smile at a stranger, do something good without expecting credit. That's how you live as a person of hope in a noisy world. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this walk through 1 Peter gave you some clarity, comfort, and maybe a spark of inspiration. Remember, you're part of a living story. You're not invisible. You're seen, chosen, and loved. Keep going. Keep shining quietly. You're not just keeping faith alive, you're showing it. Thanks for being here, for listening, and for letting these words breathe into your day. Take care, stay grounded, and I'll see you next time.